Lacrosse community, my name's Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills you gain from the sport, to ultimately live your best life possible. Today, we're so fortunate to be joined by head coach of Wabash College, Chris Burke, who's got an unbelievable lacrosse story and a journey of a lot of triumph. Chris, I don't want to take away from you. Can you share with our community how you got into lacrosse in the first place and a little bit about that journey that I'm alluding to?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the start of it isn't really that exciting. My father grew up in Long Island, and he joined the military out of high school, and that we actually talked about it with my dad earlier, maybe earlier this week, and he was just like, you know what, college wasn't for me, and so he joined the military, and then moved down to Norfolk, Virginia, where I grew up, and he's still there to this day. But lacrosse kind of runs through our veins in the Burke family. My brother is also a college coach. My father's been coaching high school for a very long time, and he's still down there in Virginia Beach doing that. So I kind of grew up with a stick in my crib, if you will. And to be honest with you, I got lucky in that sense. So.
Well, it's so neat that you have that experience and that foundation from your dad. And the idea of a stick in your crib is something that is fascinating. But as we spoke before, not everyone has that experience. And when you made your way to the Midwest, it seems like you recognize that. Can you share a little bit about your college experience or pre-college experience, then college experience?
Yeah. I mean, I was a non-traditional student in college, and so for me, I was a good high school player coming out of Virginia Beach. I was an attackman, midfield. I kind of did anything that they needed me to do. And this was years before they came up with the face-off, get-off guy. So I even did a little bit of that. But for the most part, I kind of just didn't focus on the school aspect. I was really focused on lacrosse. I loved it, but I let other things slip. I let other responsibilities slip, and so I joined the military out of high school. I needed a change in my life, and this was around 2007. And so we had two wars going on. We had Iraq and Afghanistan. I joined the Marine Corps. I had some friends that were in the Marine Corps. I had some friends in the Navy, friends in the Army. Growing up in Norfolk, in Virginia Beach, there's military everywhere. So I was a little hesitant at first, but I joined the Marine Corps. Did 5 years in the Marine Corps, and got out and wanted something. I wanted the opportunity that the goal of mine was always to play college lacrosse, and I wanted that opportunity. The military kind of turned me into an adult. I started recognizing things that were passions, and I needed to shoot for them. And out of the Marine Corps, I got the opportunity to walk on at St. Leo University. I was kind of lucky and unlucky. I blew out my knee in Afghanistan. So on a patrol, I blew out my knee. And that situation kind of actually helped me in the fact that I joined a coaching staff before I was a college player. Coach Jorgensen gave me the opportunity to kind of go onto his staff and honestly just run the box and relearn the game. A lot had changed since I had played. And then I walked on my sophomore, junior year, and I played 3 years at St. Leo University. And by the time I was done, I was a captain. I was a captain my senior year, 30 years old. So I got to be a part of a locker room as a non-traditional student. And to be honest with you, I was very lucky. And I had the opportunity to go from the battlefield, where your purposes are kind of the same, but not. The experiences are a lot different. Go from the battlefield to a locker room. And I landed in this unique environment of college coaching. So.
Well, Chris, that's really interesting to hear that non-traditional story that you talk about of getting on a lacrosse field. You had this mission, this dream from an early age, it sounds like, or that was an end-all be-all, but it didn't necessarily become a reality right away or in the traditional sense. But then you go back and you find a way through adversity, through a blown out knee, to be able to step up and then be a leader in that program, which from my side of you is just so impressive. It shows a lot of resiliency and grit. Can you talk a little bit more about your lacrosse history, about a pinnacle moment that you have, or maybe a couple of moments that really stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes in seasons. And pinnacle moment in high school was, kind of, I mean, all 4 years we got to our state championship. I played club, so it was kind of our state championship. There wasn't a lot of club teams, to be honest with you. We got there all 4 years. We're the Buffalo Bills, if you will, of the Virginia Beach the Virginia Beach teams. We never quite pulled it off. But I joined in the military, joined the Marine Corps. I still always had a lacrosse stick in my hand. I always had one with me wherever I went, which was kind of interesting. A lot of, I would go out, I would play a little bit, even in Afghanistan, I shot around a little bit, created a goal out of engineering stakes. I always had a stick. And so for me, I think the first thing was making the team. I guess the first one was Coach Jorgensen giving me an opportunity. I'm a proven athlete. He knew that, to be honest with you, he had to fight to get me into St. Leo University. And so I'm always thankful for that. But without that opportunity, I wouldn't be where I'm at, and so I would say that is the most pinnacle moment of me trying to, starting to change my path. After that, as a player, becoming a captain, getting voted a captain by my guys in that locker room that said, kind of stood up and said, you know what, I think this guy can teach me something. And this is a lot of guys from all over the country. We had guys from the Midwest, we had guys from Canada, we had guys from New York. So we're a very diverse group of people in that sense. And so have all of those guys kind of stand up and go, this is the guy that we want in front of us. I think was an awesome moment of my life. And, to be honest with you, as a player, like actually playing, stepping on the field against Limestone and Tampa. I was a 30-year-old man. I was a man down guy. I knew what my role was. My role was to make sure I was a good leader, make sure I'm communicating, make sure I understand the offenses, and kind of be the guy, be ready when it's my chance. And so for me, I was never that guy. I was never that guy that's going to go get the game-winning takeaway. So for me, defensively, stepping on the field against Limestone, getting a ground ball, it was 2 minutes of my life, but they were a national champion. And so it's kind of funny. I look back at it, and I even called my dad after that game, and I did everything that was asked of me. I felt like I should have stayed on the field. And then my dad was like, you're 30 years old, man. You shouldn't be on the field. So you need to chill out. And so I always say that was, as a player, that was the pinnacle moment of me kind of going, you know what? He's absolutely right. I should be very happy and humble that I actually got the opportunity to step on the field against a national champion. It was 2 minutes of my life, pick up a ground ball, clear the ball correctly, get off the field. But at the same time, that's why I was on the field, is because Coach Jorgensen knew exactly what I was going to do. I wasn't going to do anything crazy. And then getting on the field with Tampa and starting to, do, as a player, like as a 30-year-old man, you should not be on the field with those individuals. Q was still on the field. Tampa makes a run every year when we were playing them, and so for me to get on the field with those guys is a pretty humbling experience. And you always want more, but you kind of get checked every once in a while. So and then as a coach, obviously I'm a head coach, I got 2 years of volunteer work at St. Leo, but for the most part I've been only coaching for 4 years at the professional level, a professional and the collegiate level. And so for me to get this opportunity is very rare. I know that there's a lot of people out there that really would have wanted this job. And so for people to kind of see the things that I bring to the table and give me those opportunities, I think I would be blind to not say that this is a pinnacle moment of my life and my career. And then, I mean, my previous institution, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, there was so many pinnacle moments in that time. I had a lot of really good players, a lot of good guys that helped me build the culture and build the program there. I would be remiss to say that that wasn't a pinnacle moment of beating our first ranked opponent, beating our conference rivals, you know, getting to the number 12th ranked team in the country. Those are not easy traits in 4 short years. And we really had to dig that program out of a pretty big hole as well. And it really set me up for this. But on top of that, like, those guys just grinded. To see my seniors finally beat teams that you know, after 4 years, see my senior and COVID, right? And see them kind of win the games that they weren't supposed to win or even be in. And it's teams that beat them up pretty good in the past. I think those were some pretty big moments for me as an assistant coach as well. So it's kind of seasons, right? That's kind of a long answer, but there's a lot to that answer. So I feel like there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's going to be pinnacle moments here at Wabash, you know, and so I think there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, you're definitely not done, Chris. We've seen resiliency through all those stories that you share, from being able to get on the field, being able to coach time and time again. It seems like you're building culture, you're being a leader, and I'd love to hear a little bit more from you. What does leadership mean for you?
I mean, leadership means a lot to a lot of different people. I think at the end of the day, it's servant leadership is key. You know, I'm a servant to my guys. You know, you got to have passion, you got to have love, and you can't fake those things. And so to be a servant, you have to have those 2 key aspects. And I will always have passion for my guys. And to be honest with you, it's about bringing a great experience to these men, you know, teaching them lacrosse, but also teaching them life lessons. And so for me, I think servitude is the big piece there. You know, it is my job to direct this thing in the right direction, but at the end of the day, they got to do all the work. And so you know, they're the ones in the trenches. I'm just kind of the one that's steering the car in the right direction, if you will. And so for me, you know, I just want to do this job with love and compassion for my guys, empathy for my guys. And you know, to be honest with you, when I came into Wabash, you know, that's why I took this job. I took this job because, one, it speaks to my experience, but on top of that, there's the expectations for us, this underdog mentality that we've developed in the past 4 months. You know, like, those little pieces, these guys really buy into that. They know that I'm here for them. They know that, you know, we're gonna win and lose games, but at the end of the day, that I'm always going to be here. And so for that, you know, I think that is the main goal for me as a leader, is making sure my guys understand that, you know, we're going to win and lose games. But at the end of the day, I'm here for the betterment of you. And if I can get that across, you know, we're going to do some big things. But that's what leadership is. In my opinion, it's being a servant first. So.
Oh, I love that. We know there's so many different types of leadership, but the servant leaders, the ones that are understanding that the players or their constituents are the ones doing all the work. And you said building relationships, empathizing with them, but ultimately wanting them to be better at the end of the day are such big aspects of that. And I think it's really neat because it relates to our conversation here. Lacrosse has been such a big part of my life. It's allowed me to be very successful professionally, and I've seen it be very impactful for a ton of others, and I'm sure you as well. When you're able to take these extremely volatile young men who get agency for the first time in their lives and are trying to figure it out, they have someone who has some stability, some sense of caring and love to help them be successful. And I'd like to hear from you, whether it was your service in the Marine Corps or on the lacrosse field, what are some of those key takeaways you took from being a young man that you're trying to impart in these guys now to hopefully make them better moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of everything, right? Like, there's not one thing, especially in a coach's, in my aspect, in my experience, it's not one thing that makes me a coach. You could even look at my high school career. I was a good lacrosse player, but I just wasn't driven in the classroom, wasn't driven off the field. I had a lot of growing to do. And so you could even look back at that as an experience of where if one of my guys is hurting in the classroom, I've already been through that. Hey, we got to use, how many people say we got to use lacrosse as medicine, right? A medicine game. And I think that is an aspect that is very, very familiar with me. And so for me, I really try to teach that to my guys, especially coming here to Wabash. They haven't had the experience that they wanted. And so for me, it's really about teaching these guys that, hey, going out to the field for 30 minutes a day and shooting or catching and throwing, doing footwork, whatever you want to do. But having a stick in your hand might actually help you kind of think about some processes going on in your life. And so I think there's a lot of aspects to that. If we look at, that's my high school part of it. But if you look at the Marine Corps, I literally went from the battlefield straight to a locker room. A lot of people that were in that profession that get out don't have that opportunity. I would like to see more people take that opportunity because it grew me. I'll tell you right now, as a freshman, not having played in 10 years, I was pretty bad. And so I wasn't this great lacrosse player that all of a sudden came in and changed the program. But I knew why I was there. I knew what my role was. And, I continued to get better. I used that as my driving force to get better. And I had some things going on that you leave the Marine Corps with, and so I had a bunch of 18 to 23-year-old young men rally around me and really change who I was as a person, to be honest with you, and help me through some things going on in my life. And so I think there's that aspect as well, and it's a unique perspective. It's a team aspect in a sense that's a lot deeper than just being part of a team. There was some thought process that I went through as an older collegiate athlete that these guys don't know, and they still welcome me to that locker room. And so if I can teach those guys from that unique experience, rather than just going, hey, we won a lot of games. I remember the time I did this, or this is the way we did it. I think I'm doing a really good job sharing that experience as much as possible. And then coaching. I went to my previous institution, and I was hired by a 23-year-old head coach, Mitch Schaefer, who taught me the game at a more accelerated rate. Let me fail, which was huge, and really learn how to coach. And I think there was some give and take there, but I really fell into a good situation where there was low expectations for us to do anything. We developed a hard-nosed mentality where we were like, listen, we're going to fight and we're going to compete. We don't care if we win or lose. And the guys bought into that mentality, and so we were able to do some pretty cool things there as well. But I got to grow a program, and I got to see the things that failed. I got to see which recruits didn't work out, which recruits did work out. And so I learned a lot from that experience as well.
I'm picking up just the transformational leadership. People don't know what they don't know, but you having an experience, being able to open their eyes to that is so impactful. And you have all these different skill sets that, as you said, have positioned you for this head coaching role in an extremely impactful way. And it sounds like the boys are just poised to really learn a lot from you. In our previous conversations, you spoke about building your locker room right now. How are you going about doing that?
Yeah, I wish there was an equation. It's kind of funny. Again, I bring up Coach Jorgensen, but I owe a lot to that man. I actually, when I got this job, I kind of asked him, what did you see in me that made you want to take a shot? And, you know, where do I find these recruits? You know, for me, you know, he said the same thing. He's like, I wish there was an equation, you know, and I think every coach believes that they you know, they pick up things along the way. So if I can continue to learn how to build this locker room, then I'm going to, you know. And the other part is people don't see the failures, right? I think when I came in, it would have been very easy for me to come in here with an iron fist and go, okay, this is what we're going to do, but it wouldn't have been fair to the guys that are already on this team. The other part of it was, you know, I think every locker room is way different. The people in those locker rooms are way different. The guys that I bring into my locker room are going to be different than, you know, what another program would do. And so for me, it's about bringing the right guys in, but building the guys that are already here. And I think we have a really good foundation. We don't have a lot of guys. We don't. So coming in, we lost a couple, to be honest with you, but that is a growing pain. That's going to happen. You know, and so not getting frustrated with that, not woe is me, being positive with the guys that we have in this locker room is very important. And so for me, coming into this program, I have a lot of good dudes. And I think I mean, I look at it and I go, okay, I have a foundation. I don't have a lot of it, but I have foundational guys. If I can get these guys to work hard and buy in, that was the key aspect of building this locker room. And to be honest with you, when I came in, it was a blank slate for culture. And in fact, it was these kids were hungry for it because they hadn't had it before. And so asking them what their experiences were, how do we go about building, you know, what worked, what didn't work. There was a lot of things that didn't work. And so I could go, okay, well, these are the things that we need to attack now. And then we'll build on that. And so, you know, making sure our staff doesn't bite off more than we can chew was a key piece. I would be remiss to not mention Coach Dione. He's been awesome so far, helping me understand how Wabash works, you know, and easing my transition with the guys as well. And he has shown nothing but wanting to learn. You know, and so he's got a lot of energy, and he's trying to learn as quickly as possible, because he kind of went through that same process, you know, and being blind to that would be a problem as well. And so he kind of went through the same process as the guys. You know, he didn't learn a ton. He's hungry for learning. And so as long as we can develop that mentality that we can always get better and we're always working hard, I think is the important piece this year. And then we'll start getting into the advanced sides of lacrosse. And so last piece is, you know, it's not going to be about wins and losses here at Wabash. You know, would I want it to be? Yeah, 100%. I'm a lacrosse coach. I'm competitive. I hate losing more than I like winning. And so for me, it's very easy for me to get caught up in that, and I got to check myself every once in a while. My aspirations for this program are pretty high, you know, and maybe I'm expecting too much sometimes, but at the same time, not giving into the things that we need to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to. So lacrosse here is going to be a building process, but what I can't forego is I need good dudes in that locker room. I need guys that care about what we're trying to do here. And building a program, there's a ton of adversity. This goes back to my previous institution. They had one win by the time Coach Schaefer and I took over. And we ended up in 4 short years, including the COVID year, we were number 12 in the country. It was because of the hard work that those men put forward. It wasn't anything crazy that we did. We tried some things, some of them worked, some of them didn't, but the kids bought in with this underdog mentality and just went to work every day. And, you know, for me, if I can develop that mentality here, we're gonna do some things. And so, but for the guys, that's going to be key moving forward. And you know, did we hate losing games? 100%. You know, I think we went 5-12 our first year, or 5-11 our first year at my previous institution. man, there were sometimes I was really upset, really upset. And the guys would probably tell you some stories. But at the end of the day, I look back at that experience and what did I learn from it? Did I get more? Did I get the best out of my guys? Did I teach them something? And so, like, for instance, the recruits we're bringing in are all guys that want to build a program. There's adversity there. And so, there's opportunity to play right away. Absolutely. 100%, but at the same time, they want to be a part of the building process, and we're going to lose some games. We're going to win some games. We're going to pull off some upsets. There's going to be games that they're going to remember forever, and they're going to be a part of those games. And then there's going to be games that they're going to want to forget. And so, for me, I think building the locker room with the right guys is very important. And luckily we have a really good foundation of dudes that really believe in Wabash being a good lacrosse program. So,
well, you need that foundation to be really strong and sturdy to be able to accomplish that vision and mission you have, and a strategy to get there. And it sounds like you're providing a ton of support, leadership, and a background of grit and resiliency that's going to be so impactful for these guys. And you have that standard. You mentioned before, we're holding each other accountable to accomplish what needs to be done. So we have to raise the bar for a lot of kids ultimately, and they're not used to the sacrifice that it takes to perform at a really high level. But it makes it so that when you do get to that professional sense of the world, you're willing to sacrifice because you've sacrificed so much already, and you have that muscle already grown to do so. Chris, we are wrapping up on time right now, so thank you so much for all the conversation so far. Do you have any last thoughts on lacrosse or leadership that you can share with us all?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, hard work goes a long way. I think I'm a testament to that. The fact that, I could barely catch and throw. I was an attackman in high school, and then all of a sudden I'm playing close defense. I'm 5'8". I'm not a big dude, but I knew that I had to work hard in the locker room. I had to get my stick dialed in. I watched film. I went in and I asked coach every day, probably to the fact that he was just annoyed by it. But I went into his office every day. What do I need to do to get better? And sometimes it was the same answer, dude, just learn how to catch and throw. Get a better stick. And, I became that guy, and so for me, hard work does pay off. Is it going to be immediate? No, it's not. It's never going to be immediate. But it will pay off. You'll get to where you're going if you put in that hard work. So, and it's the same thing as a coach. I put in a ton of hours, as an assistant coach. I learned the game from, Coach Stark, who is at my previous institution now, and Mitch. I learned a ton from Mitch, how to coach. He was more of a player's coach than I was, and so I learned a ton of pieces to that, but we put in the hours. I mean, there was nights where we were recruiting. There was nights where we were just watching film. We were a roommate my first year together. We were roommates. So we put in a lot of time. And I think if you put in that time, you will see it on the back end. So I would say that's the biggest piece. Work hard, and you're going to get where you're going.
I couldn't have said it any better, Chris. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We're so excited to hear how Wabash College does moving forward, and we're really cheering you on. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.